Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. Let's kick this party off with the Democratic debates. If the gloves were coming off in the last debate, the knives came out for this one. It got messy. They weren't just throwing barbs at each other. They were running each other through the wood chipper, then collecting all the debris, and then running it through the wood chipper one more time just to make sure it was dead. Let's go one by one. For the first hour, Mike Bloomberg was slaughtered. It's like one of those moments where there's a bunch of military veterans talking crap to each other, and then a civilian walks up and decides to talk crap about the Air Force guy. Then all of a sudden, everybody is mad at that guy for making fun of the Air Force guy, even though they were just making fun of the Air Force guy. Bloomberg walked into this thing, and these people have been fighting each other for months, and they didn't like that he just crashed the party. They eviscerated him on the multiple NDAs he's had women sign as a result of something he's done. They absolutely crushed him on stop and frisk as mayor of New York City. Then they even came after him for being a billionaire and told him he doesn't deserve his money. His second hour was different, however. He came out swinging and he exposed some of the weaknesses of the other candidates pretty robustly. The man was literally asked if he should exist, and then was told by Sanders that he didn't build any of his companies, his employees did. Warren and Sanders then double-teamed him on an idea that all major corporations should be forced to give 20% of their company to their employees. Bloomberg responded, "I can't think of a better way to get Donald Trump reelected than this conversation right here. We're not going to just throw out capitalism. Other countries have tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work." This caused Warren and Sanders to lose their shit, roll their eyes, huff and puff, and try to explain how democratic socialism wasn't the same thing as communism, and it wasn't going to lead to communism, even though most of the time it does. This brings us back to the same debate that the Democratic Party has been struggling with for a year or more. What is the strategy? Are they trying to create a big tent approach that appeals to Democrats, independents, and moderate Republicans? Or are they trying to create a leftist socialist euphoria? Sanders and Warren have gotten a lot of attention and success with the latter. Buttigieg, Biden, and Klobuchar have had mixed success with the former. Bloomberg's play, which is a smart one, is to basically look at the field and say, no one here is very strong. If I can get the nomination, then any Democrats are going to vote for me just because I'm not Trump. I'll also pick up moderates because I don't want to burn America as it is currently to the ground like some of my counterparts. So if you're a Democrat that thinks that the Democratic Party has gone way too far to the left, as I've heard many Democrats say, all of a sudden he might look attractive. Now, I don't like the guy because I think he's a statist. His record is that he will force people to do what he thinks is right for them, whether we're talking about the Second Amendment, soft drinks, or stop and frisk. That being said, he's made it interesting. His marketing is on point, and he's pissed off Trump, which means Trump is tweeting about him, which means the media is covering him, which means that even though he didn't have a great debate performance, he's in the mix. The pundits say that he lost the debate and he's out, but that is not my impression. I'm actually putting him in third place, knocking on the door of second, behind Sanders and Biden. Sanders had a solid day if you like the things that Bernie Sanders says all the time, and a terrible day if you don't. His blame the rich for everything game is effective envy politics, and it's placed him in the lead nationally. His most effective moments were when he was attacking Bloomberg, but I don't feel like he did that as well as Warren, who essentially is his real competition for the far left. In this race, you have to kind of split the voters, because you have people that are traditional moderate Democrats, and then you have people that are far, far left and want to court socialism. If you're in the socialism camp, your choices are Sanders or Warren. So let's talk Warren. She had a good night. As always, she's one of the two most prepared candidates in these debates. She knows policy, she knows what she wants to do, and she can explain why. She's also been largely ignored by the media lately, which is extremely odd given her position. In fact, many conspiracy theorists believe that she is forcibly being pushed out of the race in order to garner support for Sanders. Nevertheless, she was the lead attacker tonight, and she did it very competently. She painted a very good picture of her being the one that would fight for the little guy and would fight for women. She also showed what it would look like to have her in a debate against Trump, which I have said consistently that many Trump haters want to see. They want Trump to be taken to task, and she took Bloomberg to task tonight. She also knew that if she didn't turn up the heat, she was going to get relegated to VP candidate very quickly. Personally, I don't know if she could have done a lot better than what she did. This brings us to the other most prepared person on stage, Mayor Pete. Despite his terrible picture where he's wearing full kit that involves shoulder pads, groin protection, and the whole nine, he had a good night. What he does very effectively is stay calm. When he comes after other candidates, he does so with data and with very pointed questions. He never sounds like he's angry. He's like that annoying teacher that knows a lot, that you know is walking you towards a path, but like you have no choice. You keep answering the questions and eventually you're like, yes, I get it, you're right. His best line of the night hit both Sanders and Bloomberg hard. Most Americans don't see where they fit if they have to choose between a socialist that believes that money is the root of all evil and a capitalist that believes that money is the root of all power. Let's put forward somebody that's actually a Democrat. Oh! You could actually hear the Rocky music in the background. And for most of the debate, he did that effectively. However, when it came to Klobuchar, he may have gone a bit too far. He rattled her hard. When Buttigieg went against her for being a member of the Border Security Council and not knowing the name of the Mexican president, she was rattled and her gas was flabbered. She actually asked him, with her voice trembling, if he thought she was dumb. It almost started to sound like she was going to cry, but Mayor Pete did not relent. He dropped the line, if winning a Senate race in Minnesota resulted in becoming president, then I would have grown up under the presidency of Walter Mondale. Ugh. It was so harsh that I actually sat there feeling bad for Klobuchar, and probably a lot of people across America did as well. Many thought it was too mean and that Mayor Pete went over the line from smart nerd to dickhead smart nerd. That brings us to Klobuchar. Worst performance of the night. She's been running on the power of women this entire time, and as a moderate conservative from a policy standpoint, she's probably my favorite. But the sexist stereotype about women, which is 100% not fair, but it is still something that women have to contend with, is that under pressure, women get emotional. She played right into it. I think the combination of a stellar Warren performance and the takedown from Buttigieg probably killed any chances of her being elected president. I think her best bet at this point is to be a VP candidate either for Biden or for Buttigieg if they can make amends. And finally, Biden. He did fine. He made solid points. No one heard him. But no one is talking about him either. He's going to need some big wins in the next few primaries in order to get the media talking about him again and to give himself a real chance. So currently, my rank order of people who have the best chance of being nominated for the Democratic candidate to the presidency. 1. Sanders. He has momentum. I don't think he's in a really strong position yet because I still don't believe he's going to do well in the Midwest and the South. Number 2, Biden. You know what you're going to get? People affiliate him with Obama, which many people feel is a very successful administration, and he's a known quantity. I believe he's going to do better in the South than Sanders. Number 3, Bloomberg. I know it sounds weird, but he's running a really good marketing campaign right now, and I think he's going to be a dark horse candidate. Number 4, Buttigieg. He is the delegate leader right now, but I just don't see it continuing. Number 5, Warren. Great performance, but too little too late, and the far left prefers Sanders. Klobuchar. I think she just had her Kamala Harris moment.
In Hong Kong, a gang of knife-wielding thugs jumped a delivery driver and made off with some precious cargo. $130 worth of pristine double-ply toilet paper. Why, you might ask? Well, since the outbreak and epidemic of the coronavirus, toilet paper has become just one of the many hot-ticket items that people are stashing and storing. Photos on social media have shown some citizens proudly stuffing hundreds of toilet paper rolls into their cramped apartments in China. Supermarkets have found themselves unable to keep up with demands. Shelves are bare. Authorities have blamed online rumors for the panic buying, and they still report that household goods remain stable. When you're being robbed at knife point for toilet paper, you know it's a situation.
In evil, tyrannical governor from Virginia news, 4 moderate Democrats came across the aisle to shelve the assault weapons ban in Virginia until next year. That was a big win for the Constitution. However, many other bills have in fact passed. Guns are now banned in many buildings. You can only buy 1 handgun a month in the state. And there are red flag laws that have no due process in effect currently in Virginia. Virginia, a place that was literally founded on the premise, death to tyrants, now apparently is a big fan of tyrants. Here's to hoping most of those laws are struck down by the Supreme Court, or that the populace of Virginia votes very differently in the next election.
The US and the Taliban should sign a peace deal by the end of the month. But personally, I'm not going to hold my breath. A senior Taliban leader confirmed that the talks have ceased and they are on to their final drafts. One of the big issues that the Taliban had with the documents is that when IE was used, IG would have been more of an appropriate form. They're sticklers for that kind of thing.
Germany is reeling from a mass shooting this Wednesday, thought to have been from a neo-Nazi that was trying to purge the German populace of the Turkish population. 9 were killed and many more wounded in 2 Turkish smoke shops in the town of HANAU, a place I used to frequent when I was stationed overseas. The suspected killer then went home, shot his mother, and then shot himself. Our hearts go out to the families of those that were lost and to the entire HANAU community.
Mercury is in retrograde. I don't know what this means. Look, I'm just an artist. Nick handed me this script and told me what to say. I don't know what's going on.
Russia's long-standing Sukhoi Superjet project feels left out this week. Left out of the market. The design was created to rival the West's most popular airframes, like the Airbus or the Bombardier or the Boeing. Instead, it's kind of on an island. The Sukhoi project has no confirmed orders outside of the Russian state-owned airline Aeroflot. More like Aeroflop, am I right? Countries that have bought the Russian jets in subsequent years have either discontinued use or even selling them back to the airline. I'm not an airline expert, but I don't think that's good. In response to the news of lagging sales, Sukhoi CEO had this to say: "In Mother Russia, we do not complain about crashing planes or missing parts. We drink vodka."
Scientists from the Shanghai Astronomical Observatory have recently discovered oxygen outside of our Milky Way galaxy. This is the first time this has occurred in history. The galaxy, Markarian 231, was discovered in 1969, but oxygen hadn't been discovered until just recently due to technological advances. Unfortunately, for all my fellow Star Wars nerds and hippies that want to leave this planet, Markarian 231 is 500 million light years away. And the oxygen that they found on that galaxy is not quite the same kind of breathable oxygen that we have here on Earth. Despite having oxygen, the galaxy doesn't have the other trace gases found in Earth's atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide and nitrogen. So before you go on that 500 million light-year journey to get away from all the people that you hate, only to get there, take a giant breath and feel like you just had the world's largest whippet, and eventually die like Arnold Schwarzenegger did in Total Recall with your freaking eyes popping out of your head, let's worry about this planet first.
The Boy Scouts of America declared bankruptcy this week. Many people believe that this occurred as a result of them adding girls to the program. But in actuality, it's because of being sued for many, many years of raping, molesting, and abusing children. If there's one thing that we can learn from the Boy Scouts or the Catholic Church or women's gymnastics, it's that the purge is starting to look like a really, really good idea.
This week, a video emerged of a 9-year-old Australian boy crying to his mother and wanting to commit suicide because of all of the bullying he had received at school. Quaden was born with achondroplasia, a kind of dwarfism. For her part, Caden's mom isn't blaming anyone specifically, but thinks that educators and parents need to talk to their children and educate them more about disabilities. Many people have already come to Quaden's side. Brad Williams, a comedian who also has dwarfism, was able to raise $250,000 to send Quaden and his family to Disney World. Latrell Mitchell, an Indigenous professional rugby player, let Caden out onto the field to take pictures with him recently. You all know how we here at BNN feel about bullying. You've seen our PSA on bullying and know how much we detest it. Quaden, you're a good kid with a strong heart. Kids are always going to be dicks, but you're going to become a much stronger person as a result of this. Hold firm with your family and friends, and keep your head up, buddy.
And finally, in Florida Man news, Stephen Short, at the young age of 28, was arrested outside of a Save-A-Lot naked. Stephen, a regular shoplifter at Save-A-Lot, was found stuffing ribeyes into his pantalones. Shoppers reported what they saw, and the manager was alerted. The manager approached Stephen, and then the police were notified when the two broke out into a tussle. In a bid to escape, Stephen cleverly wiggled out of all of his clothes, leaving them and 4 ribeye steaks behind. When the police finally arrived, they were confronted by store aisles full of meat, coupon books, clothing, with a buck-naked Stephen running in the distance full tilt. Short was immediately tased by the officer on the scene, but appeared to have received the short end of the stick when the taser embedded into his genitals and he had to be rushed to the hospital. That had double meaning. The other meats suffered no damage. And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Thomas Reed Hunt III, Duke of Wellington.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and I've got to tell you, my West Point classmate wore a Ranger Up shirt in space yesterday while doing the Ranger Creed. You can find it on YouTube if you want, but it was awesome. Rangers do in fact lead the way. And also, you can get 25% off at rangerup.com by using the code BNN. Have a great Friday.